everyone, and welcome to Walford Weekly, your weekly EastEnders podcast. This week we'll be discussing the episodes broadcast in the UK on the BBC from Monday the 17th to Friday the 21st of May. My name is Alex, and I am joined by the wonderful Rob. Hello, Rob.
Yo. How are you, Alex?
I'm well, thank you.
Excellent.
Yes. I mean, I'm better now because I have something streaming through my veins.
Oh, again?
and it's good this time. It's fine.
Oh, not recreational.
No.
Oh,
no.
good.
Purely medicinal. It's the
Pfizer.
It's the Pfizer vaccine. I've had my first jab.
Oh, how did it go?
It went very well. I got to skip the queue because I'm under the age of 40, which immediately shut up, Rob. It immediately made me feel good up until that moment just then. And because they're having the different one, they're having the AstraZeneca vaccine. At least they are in Scotland. But anyone under the age of 40 is having the Pfizer one. And then just went straight in. I mean, I think I was a bit overexcited and a bit overzealous because I was there with my t-shirt sleeve already rolled up as I walked in.
I'm ready.
I really was. And
a belt wrapped around your arm.
Look into my veins.
Well, that's good. That's exciting. And I'm glad that I can ask you stuff now because I got a text message today from the NHS to book my appointment for Pfizer as well.
Lovely.
So that's all done, ready for the end of May, which is really soon. It is really soon, actually. Oh my God.
It's super soon.
The 22nd. That's next week. I just realised.
Yeah. But the thing about it, it's one step forward from a better world, a better way of hopefully going
I've
forward.
had it already, so frankly, I ain't scared. I don't like needles, though. Did it hurt?
Oh, no, that's the strange thing. I don't like needles either, but I didn't even feel it going in. I felt it afterwards. It's really strange. It's gone today, but I had it Thursday, and it feels like if you've when you stretch. Have you ever been to the gym, Rob?
I mean, once. Okay. I think I went to perv on someone once. Yeah.
All right. Well, if you overexerted yourself on your perving,
then it was perspiring. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, if you overstretch something, then the next morning it feels like you can't actually move your arm very well.
I know, right?
And so that's basically what it felt like for about 24 hours. But anything other than that, I didn't really feel much. But just to reassure you, the doctor did tell me that the second jab is normally worse. So. Good.
Well, I booked both of them now because the text that I got, I was able to book both appointments, and so that's all done and dusted now. So I'm ready for my jab. I'm ready for my needle. So how exciting!
I would definitely say also bring a drink with you, not like Coca-Cola or something sugary.
Oh, right. Vodka.
Yeah, if you wish. Because when you've had it done, you have to stay behind for 5 minutes, and 15 minutes, and they keep an eye on you, and you do feel a little bit. I mean, it might be just because I was bored and I was kind of just sat there scrolling on my phone, not really doing much. But I felt a bit tired quite quick, and I suppose it might not be related, but a sugary drink probably would have perked me up a little bit. So I certainly recommend that too, Rob.
Okie dokie, I'll bear that in mind. Thank you.
So I look forward to your adventures next week and what happens to you as well.
Right, Alex, I have my tea ready.
Well, we are going to talk about all the stories from this week on EastEnders. We had a new character this week, and we had a Julius theme again.
We did.
It's gone mad. They're just going nuts with the Julius theme now. And we're also going to have another weekly dose of Martin's 5 a day later on in the show. But we are starting with Sharon and her big launch party. I think she's opened the club about 3 times now. 3 soft launches.
Sharon just likes champagne, really, let's be honest. It's as many openings as she can possibly get to. Yeah, we'll have another one.
She likes an opening, and she wants...
Yes, she does.
She wants the opening of her gym to be a particularly big affair, so she's hooked Ruby in to help her out too, on the advice of Zack, because Zack and Ruby are becoming quite close with one another this week. Something that Lily didn't miss.
No, well, Lily doesn't miss anything, does she?
No.
Sitting there watching it like a small, vindictive hawk.
I mean, she was passing on the information to her dad, Martin, and she was twisting the truth a lot this week. And the only one who could seem to see through it was Ruby. She really is the wicked stepmother, isn't she, to poor Lily?
No, she's not. Lily's the wicked stepdaughter.
Well, what I mean
Ruby's done nothing wrong.
What I mean is,
Lily,
in Lily's eyes, she feels she is this horrible
ice queen.
stepmom. Yeah. And she's just trying to get Martin just to move out and trying everything in her will to do it. And this week, she kind of accused Zack of having an affair with Ruby, her stepmom.
I mean, who can blame her, to be honest? We got a lot of topless Zack scenes this week, and I appreciated them.
Yes, we did get a lot of... Or Zack in a vest. There was a lot of half-naked Zack.
I tell you what, I really like Zack, actually.
So do I.
Aside from, the visual aesthetic, I quite like him. And I wonder, actually, once they've got this whole sort of... If they don't go down the path of Ruby and Zack having a mad, passionate affair, I wonder if Zack has been brought in to sort of fill in the role of Martin's best mate. Once this is all cleared up.
That's exactly what I think is happening. It's Kush 2.0 and Zack. And because they were already really chummy, weren't they? When Martin apologised and they were in the cafe, it was like, let's have a pint. And you could
let's have a pint,
and it was already starting, wasn't it? There was this manly friendship between them developing straight away.
It's basically like ours.
Yeah, but exactly like ours.
Exactly like ours.
I'm just...
Seen a game last night, mate. Ludicrous display.
They just phoned it in last night, mate. They phoned it in.
Phoned it in.
Kush has had an affair with one of Martin's wives, Stacey, in the past, or slept with her,
so he fills in that role quite nicely.
Exactly. So it's not like it's new territory for them to, kind of be this relationship between them. Do you feel a bit sad that they're already kind of filling in Martin with a new Kush?
Well, no, because I like the sort of friends thing on the square. I like to see characters interacting with people that they aren't either sleeping with or having or living with. So it's nice to I think a character like Martin needs that sort of friend role because he's still quite a young bloke. So it's nice to have that sort of demographic there. And I wonder because I don't really know what Zack's role is within the gym. I don't think he's got one really, has he? And he's working at Ruby's, so I wonder if at some point it's just going to go the full hog and we're going to have Zack on the market at some point. Because Martin needs somebody to help, shift apples when he needs to wander off and do something. Because Shrimpy won't always be there.
No, exactly. Yeah, exactly. They need scenes so you can see him on the... Well, then Martin doesn't work on the market anymore, does he?
He does. He's been on the market a bit.
No, I think Martin works for Ruby.
I've seen Martin on the market. I'm sure I have recently. He was on there the other day because who was it? Tiff and Keegan were doing the sandwich thing, and they'd filled Cush's place on the market, and Martin was standing there looking a bit sad about it before he went away.
I don't know because I'm sure he'd quit. He told Ian he'd quit, and he made a big deal of it.
Details.
That's what I was going to say. I mean, also the fact that Keegan and Tiff has taken his spot on the market doesn't make much sense. They took Cush's spot on the market, and that's
what
why
I just said.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you said Martin's spot on the market.
No,
because they can't take Martin's spot on the market because
because Martin works there.
No. They're the only ones. The Fowlers. The Fowler Beals.
Oh yes,
own that plot of land. They're the only ones that own that square of land.
That particular 60 centimetre square space on the ground of Walford
Street. So they can never have that space taken away from them.
No, never.
So if that market ever closed down, Martin's could probably
They'll just stand there. Yeah.
Because Ian owns the fruit and veg stall, doesn't he? So I think, but I'm sure he because Martin doesn't own it. Ian hired Martin to look after it with a wage. And then when Martin went dark, he was a bit like, nah, I don't want to do that anymore. Then got together
but now
with
he's
Ruby.
light again.
Yeah, but now he's got together with Ruby. I'm sure that he now works for Ruby as a kind of...
He probably does in some respect, but he probably does in some respect, but he is still on the market. He's been there in recent scenes.
Oh, I don't know. Let us know, listeners. Does Martin still work on the market? Because I'm almost sure he doesn't.
Look, message Alex and tell him. No,
don't message me. Just comment below if you're listening to on YouTube. Or get in touch with us on Twitter. You don't need to directly message me.
Yes, you do. I get people directly messaging me, so you can have it too.
Shall we talk about also Jean's story this week was brought up about she was getting abdominal pain
or wind. One of the two.
Well, that's what Jean kind of passed it off as. She had prunes for breakfast and, then ran to the toilet. And then Mo kind of said, oh, don't forget to clean the toilet afterwards, which was a bit, fine.
Beautiful.
I suppose they are cleaners. It makes sense. But Mo seemed genuinely quite concerned for Jean because obviously the pain had consisted throughout the day. And Mo had discovered whilst cleaning that Nancy had been taking CBD oil and has now suggested
This is Mo's next push as a storyline. It's her next big money making scheme to try and sell CBD oil to Jean.
But that's it. She's encouraging Jean to try it, and Jean seemed quite interested in the idea. So
yeah,
is this obviously we've not heard much from Jean's illness, her cancer this year.
This year. Yeah.
So is this her way of kind of preventing it because she wants to still see Stacey one last time? I mean, what's going on with Jean now? Is she?
Oh, God knows.
Because surely, if she's taking the CBD oil, it's kind of an admission that she's kind of wants to survive. So why
wants to get better?
Yeah. So why doesn't she take the more medical?
Just go to the doctors and find out whether she has it or not.
Mm.
It seems though that we're going quite pro CBD oil.
Yes,
with Nancy having it and then Mo encouraging Jean to take it. I mean, I've no issues with CBD oil. If it does the job, then bloody put it in you. I don't mind.
Quote from Rob there: "If it does the job, put it in you.
Put it in you." Rob Innes, 2021. Yeah, so it's I just wish that we'd have some confirmation of what's going on because it's now and again we get a little smattering of what's going on with Jean? Is Jean alright? And then we just move on again. So I'd like us to actually focus on Jean and find out what the hell is going on with her because she still hasn't been to the doctors or anything. I think she's already getting to a point where I should surely feel worse by now than I already do. A bit of abdominal pain. We've all had abdominal pain. It could genuinely have been wind, and she's just associating it with the cancer that she thinks she has.
So to get it checked out would be the logical thing to do. So what is stopping Jean? What exactly is stopping Jean?
I think it's just because she doesn't. Well, presumably she doesn't want to go through the chemo again and all of that sort of thing. Because maybe she associates that very much with being with Daniel. So maybe she doesn't want to bring that sort of trauma back into her life again. She doesn't want the whole family constantly worrying about her and knowing about it, especially when, Stacey's in prison and all that sort of thing. So I'm sure she's got her, her logic towards it. But I just wish that she'd just go and give us a definitive answer. Very selfishly, I want to know. Never mind Jean, I want to know.
Because it would benefit Jean to know for definite, wouldn't it, as well? Even if she decides not to take the treatment, it surely would benefit her to know how long she has to survive. And I think it is down to worrying the family 100% because there's so much going on with them right now. To add another problem to them would be almost like a Carter storyline, and it's and
she's like, well, I don't want it to be like the Carters, so I'll keep my gob shut.
So I'll keep it quiet. But as you say, for viewers, it'd be nice for us to know, even if Jean decides ultimately to keep it secret from her family. Still, it'd be nice for us to know. Yeah, because it just feels like everything seems like a bit of a false alarm. So when on Friday's episode she said she had a bit of a bad stomach, immediately my first thought was, it must be perhaps cancer related. But then I then had an afterthought of, is it? Because
maybe she did have prunes and it gave her a stomach ache.
Yeah, and it's an overreaction over having too much prune in the morning. It's just
Who wants prunes first thing in the morning? I wouldn't. Do you? I've had a prune.
I wouldn't touch a prune with a barge pole. Nothing against a prune. I'm sure prunes are great, but I'm not.
We're not going to write in and complain, Alex. It's okay. You can slag off prunes if you like. It's not a problem.
No, I just don't like a prune.
Come at me, prunes. I don't care. Say what you like. Message me. Ring me. Go on.
Message me directly. Email me. Tell me how much you like prunes.
Go on.
I'll read them out on next week's show. The best email about your love for prunes will be read out on next week's show.
Absolutely. It will. It will.
So it's nice that, like you say, they seem to be, every story of CBD oil seems to be an endorsement that it's actually not that bad. And is it EastEnders writing crew trying to I
was just about to say, is that like between stories they have just a shot of CBD oil and then they carry on to the next story?
It's drunk like cod liver oil in that writing room. Honestly, they're just passing it around that bowl.
Writers of EastEnders will never die.
High on CBD, I tell you.
Yep, best way to be.
So another story this week we had was Sonia's dad arrived on the square. Terry Cant.
Rocky.
No, Terry. And
what's wrong with Rocky?
Everything's wrong with Rocky because his name's Terry. Him explaining why he's called Rocky. I was on the set of the Rocky movie and the...
It's no more stupid than Halfway.
Yeah, but he's called Callum, so no one calls him Halfway anymore. It makes him sound like he's a alright kind of fella, and he's not been on screen long enough to make me think he's an alright kind of fella, considering everything that we learnt from what Carol had said about Terry in the past. He's an abuser, he left the family penniless, he was a womanizer. Okay, yes, a character can redeem themselves, and if he does, then I may call him Rocky in the future. But from this moment onwards,
he'll have earned that honour.
Yeah, he's not lovable enough to be a Rocky. He's a Terry.
Let me ask you: when was this? When did she say this?
It wasn't just one conversation. Okay. It would always be said in passing to Alan. She never said it in front of her kids. So if you're going to say she probably said that in front of Sonia to upset her or to kind of move her away.
No, that's not what I was going to say.
That's not the truth.
I would believe Carol and the writers of those scenes at that particular moment that was what had happened to Carol. However, what I would also argue, my thoughts on Terry as a sort of character that he's clearly supposed to be coming across as, is Sonia, in my opinion, as a character, for a while now, has sort of been clinging on by her fingertips in terms of relevance. And what I mean by that is the fact that she, her sort of main familial, is that a word? Familial, you know what I'm trying to say.
Family unit.
That's the one, yeah. Sort of unit, slowly sort of disintegrated over the years. Carol's gone, Robbie's gone. She's not with Tina anymore. She's, she's single. So they've kind of been trying to make things happen with Sonia, and they haven't really, and all of this sort of thing. So, to have this guy come in as her father, for me, because Natalie Cassidy is a great actress, and the character is fun to watch on screen, in my opinion, I like Sonia. I quite like the idea of this guy coming in and giving her a sort of breath. It's a bit like Zack with Sharon. It sort of gives her a breath of fresh air and gives her a new direction. I'm all for that. Yeah. I also think that if they brought him in with that backstory, which, to be perfectly honest with you, I would argue that the main majority of viewers wouldn't remember, can you really try and make a character that is apparently a wife beater, womanizer, all of that sort of thing? Can you really try and make a character like that likeable whilst Grey is on the screen?
They shouldn't bring him as that same character. I agree with you on that. And I entirely agree with you that Sonia's relevance has dwindled over the past few years, and they've desperately tried to find something. The fact that they... No offence to Natalie Cassidy, but they seem to give her a lot of breaks off screen where she goes off travelling quite often. They've obviously chosen,
and then has the nerve to sit there and say, "I'm bored. I never do anything."
I know, and then moan about it. I used to see some wonderful people actually. Yeah. I'm happy with Terry joining the soap. Actually, 100%. I'm happy with Terry joining the soap. And after the strength of this week, Brian Connolly, apart from his very dodgy speaking at the very beginning when he seemed to be talking like this a lot, and it's like he came to this weird shing on his accent. He lost that by the second episode, but on the first episode, maybe it was nerves, but whatever. Yeah. I enjoyed Brian Connolly. I went in.
I didn't know he could act.
Well, I went in thinking, oh, here we go, Brian Connolly, and I left thinking, you know what, slap wrist, Alex. No, that was very good, and I enjoyed it, and so I'm pleased that they brought in the character. But I think that even as a new watcher of EastEnders, or someone who may not know the backstory of Terry, the writers would be amiss not to mention it, to at least bring it up. And it was brought up a little bit this week by Sonia herself when she kind of said, you abandoned us, you left us, and you've just come in. And yes, I was the one who wrote to you, and I wanted to make contact with you, but now I don't think it's the right time for us to actually build this relationship between us again, which I thought was very good. They introduced a character. They haven't just introduced a character and then just expected you to then get on board and have him there. They've introduced him, given it a taste of him, pulled him back. We'll see more of him, no doubt, in the future. I just think that we need to remember that Terry does have this past, and to then have this attachment of this lovable name Rocky attached to him, for me, just feels...
Does he have that past anymore? That's the question you've just got.
Oh, you mean the writers have retconned?
Yeah, does he have that past anymore? It's as simple as that, isn't it? Like I say, you can't bring in a character that you want the audience to like and give him a sort of wife-beatery background. It just doesn't work when you've got Grey on the screen, because at the minute everything about Grey is what we're supposed to hate in a person. So to bring in somebody like, you can be a wife-beater and likeable, just look at Terry. That doesn't work, No. So I know what you mean, and I know it's annoying when they sort of rewrite a character's history like that. I get it. I would argue though the majority of people aren't going to remember that, because who, apart from the type of people that do an EastEnders podcast, really know the whole sort of family history of Sonia Jackson, But could they not feasibly... That's just my view.
Could they not feasibly then just have that still part of the history, but he has bettered himself? Or does that then cheapen the Grey story even further?
Maybe. Because I remember, if you remember, at one point there was a conversation going, "Oh, actually, is Grey just going to sort of try and make himself better? That would be interesting." Do you know what I mean? So remember that?
Yeah,
remember those? Do you remember those optimistic days? So it's. I think it is simple as cut and dry as that. You can't have two people of that sort of personality on screen at the same time and try and tell us that one of them's likeable and the other one isn't, and then the other one isn't. It just doesn't work. And I think, Terry is a very likeable character, and I would argue, if he'd come in 25 years ago, he'd have been flirting with Peggy.
Yeah.
He'd have been chain smoking in the Vic, and he'd have been flirting with Peggy, and Pat would have liked him as well. I think he fits in. I'm not saying he's comparable to someone like Frank, but he fits into that role extremely well. Kind of Londonish. I like him. He instantly hit the right spot with me. I really like Terry, and I want him back. And I get that the character history rewriting is frustrating. I do understand that. But if they're going to give us a character that is well drawn as this one, that we've instantly sort of like, yep, we're looking forward to seeing him back, then, is it worth it? If you're going to have a character that's actually never been on the screen before and give him that sort of transformation off screen, I don't think we can argue with it, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. Sonia has kind of rejected Terry now, and
for now.
So, but obviously Terry.
But then
will come
there was
back.
the intro. Yeah, and then there was it was quite. I think Dotty has kind of put a few seeds in her hair where she's gone, "Are you mad? I would give anything to talk to my dad again." It's clearly this opportunity is wasted on you, which I enjoyed actually.
Dotty got quite upset, didn't she?
Yeah, and you can understand why, to be honest. Especially seeing as though Dotty lives in a world where absolutely everybody hated her dad, and she's the only person on Earth, except possibly Dot, who would like to kind of see and speak to Nick again. So to have this guy who walks in and is instantly sort of cock of the walk and can grab a crowd instantly, is instantly popular with anybody he meets, to have that representative of your father, and to see her then discount that and send him walking off, that must be infuriating for Dotty.
And obviously there's still that underlying fact where Dotty still keeps bringing up now and then about the money and about the inheritance. That's not going to lie anytime soon, is it?
I must admit, I'm not entirely following that whatsoever. So Dot has given Sonia the right to her money or something, and it's now up to Sonia when Dotty gets it.
Yeah, essentially.
Right.
So Dot basically. Well, I forget the word now, but basically she's looking after the will and the money.
This woman who stole from Dot.
Yeah.
Dot's like, yeah, you're the perfect person to have my money.
Like father, like daughter, some might say.
Yeah, yeah.
But and Dotty's still quite bitter about it, that Sonia's now got this full control over her. And I don't think Dotty likes Sonia very much. She never has.
No.
So someone she despises and doesn't even respect, really, has now got this control over her. Dotty's going to slowly get more and more unravelled over this. And every week, more and more the pieces kind of fall apart, and you can kind of see it from her. There was a nice scene between Dotty and Sonia where they kind of reconciled a little bit when Sonia apologised for going on to her a bit too much, but I can't see that lasting too much longer.
No, God no. So yeah, it'll be interesting. I like the fact that Dotty's getting more screen time now, because Millie's Heroes, a great actress. I like her a lot, and I like watching the character of Dotty. So I'm hoping to see her sort of spread out across the square a bit more.
We are going to move on to a game now. We're off to whoever's market stall it is to get our $5 a day.
Martins.
Before we start Martin Fowler's $5 a day, Rob, I think you have an announcement for Halfway's Hat's guest last week.
Thank you to everyone who messaged us for Halfway's Hat's guest. We thought it was Kathy. We were absolutely wrong. I can reveal that the correct answer to Ben's Halfway's Hat quiz, that's really hard to say, was Honey Mitchell. And if you think about the clues, it makes sense. Ben was being very clever with, I can smell something sweet. Honey is sweet. Talking about the taxi on the phone. Honey said in that scene in the Vic, trying to ring a taxi, and she could hear a bratty child, Lexi, kind of doing her thing in the background. So the answer was Honey Mitchell.
Yes,
we didn't get it, and we were really annoyed.
Yeah, afterwards, when you think about it, it was incredibly obvious. So
obvious. I
feel sick.
Ashamed.
Sick to the stomach.
Ashamed. Honest to God.
I had to sit in the corner with a dunce's hat all afternoon after that. Honestly, I felt ridiculous. But as Rob said...
I have a chance to redeem myself now.
Yes, you do. Thank you everyone who did get in touch and let us know their answer. Congratulations if you got it right. So yes,
well done.
This week Rob is playing on his own. He's playing with himself. He's playing Martin Fowler's Five a Day. And to celebrate the Walford Weekly annual podcast awards, I change the order of those words every week. I mean, who isn't celebrating it? Which will be coming out very, very soon, guys. Listen out for it. We are going to have a themed Five a Day this week. We are going to reference the British Soap Awards.
Oh, God.
Yeah,
right, okay.
Here we go. So, the British Soap Awards started in 1999. Unfortunately, for a second year this year, there isn't going to be one.
I believe that Hollyoaks is the reigning champion of best soap for the past 2 years.
And will be for 3 years, I know. It's shocking.
That's mad.
Let's never discuss this again. Rob, I need you to name up to 5. In fact, there are only 5. Name 5 actors or actresses who has won the Best Actor or Actress Award at the British Soap Awards. Now, obviously, they need to be an actor or actress from EastEnders. I will not take any actors from any other soap in case you start getting smart.
I wouldn't give you any from any other soap. I don't know any from any other soap, honestly.
And they have to have won the award 2 times or more.
What?
So anyone who's won it only once will not be counted. And that is from 1999 to 2019, the last year they had the British Soap Awards, okay? So name the 5 actors and actresses that won the British Soap Award for Best Actors and Actress from 1999 to 2019, okay? You have 30 seconds. Okay. My suggestion to you is to just throw out names.
Can I ask what the ratio is between actor and actress?
You can ask. Yes, of course.
You're not going to tell.
There are. I will tell you. There are 2 actresses and 3 actors.
Okay, cool. Okay. I thought it was going to be the other way around. All right, fine.
All right. So here we go. 30 seconds, and your time starts now.
Lacey Turner.
Correct.
Samantha Womack.
No.
Jessie Wallace.
No.
Casey Ainsworth.
Correct.
Jake Wood.
No.
Danny Dyer.
No.
Steve McFadden.
No.
What? That's madness.
Couple more seconds. One more guess. Time is up, I'm afraid. Time is up.
I couldn't have named you Brad Pitt in those last few seconds. My brain went blank.
I know, that's what happens with these games. I'm glad you appreciate that too. My mind just goes blank. So anyone who listens and says, "Oh, you idiot, you should have known him," honestly, your mind just goes blank.
Mine goes blank.
It really
I'm
does.
amazed that I don't know where I pulled Casey Ainsworth out of, so I'm taking that as an extra point.
Fair enough. You got 2. You got the 2 girls, really. You got the 2 women who won the award. Are you
going to tell me that Alex Fane or whatever his name has got the best actor?
No, I'm not going to tell you that.
Oh, thank God for that. That's all right then.
I'll go through them very quickly of the correct answers. I will let you know that Danny Dyer has never won it.
Okay.
So there's an interesting little fact for you. Ross Kemp won it twice, once in 1999 and 2006. Shane Ritchie won it twice in 2004 and 2005. And Martin Kemp, so if you kept with the Kemps, 2001 and 2002. Actors and actresses that have won it once.
Barbara Windsor. Like this, I could name you all day long. Barbara Windsor.
Go on,
so Patsy Palmer.
Yep.
Yeah. Samantha Womack, surely to God.
Nope.
Really? Rita Simons?
Nope. Jessie Wallace won it.
Pam St. Clement?
Jessie
Wallace.
Pam St. Clement didn't win it, no. She did.
Kelly Bright?
Kelly Bright did win it. She won it once in 2015. Yeah. Pam St. Clement did hand out an award on the 1 year in 2017 when EastEnders didn't win any awards.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah. That was a year to remember, wasn't it? Yeah. Oh, that's a good. I like that as a quiz, though. That's good. Yeah. And I still think that Casey Ainsworth was an amazing piece.
And that was a pull.
That was impressive.
To be fair, Natalie Cassidy's won it once. Adam Woodyat's won it once. Scott Maslin has won it once.
Yeah.
And Robert Kaczynski has won it once too.
Yeah. And Steve McFadden's never won it. That's mad.
It might be slightly because, like Sharon, he just would never turn up to the award ceremony.
No, he doesn't bother. But didn't he? I thought he won an award around the time that Phil was going through the alcoholic story.
He might have won an NTA.
The fairly recent. Oh, NTA, that might have been it. Yeah,
because
I remember him standing in the square from some link that he was doing. So, oh, sorry, I can't be there. / can't be bothered to turn up. But thanks for this award. That sort of thing.
It's a bit like Letitia Dean. I mean, everyone wants Letitia Dean to win an award, not only because it's Letitia Dean and everyone loves Letitia Dean, but also because we just imagine her doing this big presenting it on a chaise lounge with a silk
exactly.
blanket
I would
over.
love Letitia Dean to turn up to the event because the amazing outfits that they wear. Letitia Dean would just look like the biggest queen ever if she would just stride about. I imagine her like with some dress that's got like a 17-foot train behind it, you know, with a little tiara on her head, glass of champagne in one hand, striding up to the stage, accepting her award. It'd be fabulous.
Yeah.
Give the fans what they want, Letitia. Come on.
Yeah, come on, Letitia. Well, we have to vote her in first. So
Done.
come on, fans, vote for Letitia Dean at the
Done.
next Soap
And
Awards.
anything.
Yeah. Give her a Brit Award.
Give her an Oscar. She deserves it.
She could have a Lifetime in Music Award. She has released
Dame
a song.
Letitia Dean.
She could win a Grammy. There we go. Give
Yes.
Letitia Dean a Grammy for something out of nothing. That's what we need.
The St. George Cross. Anything.
There you go. So let us know how you got along by commenting below on the YouTube video or by getting in touch with us on our Twitter and Instagram. All the details will be at the end of the podcast. That was Martin Fowler's 5 a Day. Wonderful. Right, so we are moving on with the next story. And we have the Carters and Mick's getting his day in court for Katy. Well, I actually genuinely would like to know. You wanted a full-on courtroom scene. We kind of said we wanted a week of it. We got 10 minutes.
Optimistic.
Yeah. How did you feel that? How did you feel? I mean, we don't really need to go into the build-up because it was pretty much last week was the build-up. And it was Mick.
Although I will say, Monday's Duff Dove took me by surprise. I didn't like Monday's episode for the most part because everything about it felt weird. I don't know why. It felt a bit off, I thought, Monday's episode. But the cliffhanger on Monday where Katy was just standing outside the Vic genuinely took me by surprise because I wasn't expecting it. So that was good.
The scenes with Katy and Frankie were fantastic.
Really good. Really good.
Them.
I love the fact that Simone Lebed did sign language and clearly learnt it all and all that sort of thing. And Katy, towards the end, when she was doing all that, you just hated her. She portrayed it so well.
She was manipulating her daughter because whenever Frankie turned her back, you could see her face turn, and you could tell that she was
instantly as well.
And it worked as well because Frankie gave her that character statement about her mum.
Yeah.
Mick forgave Frankie immediately. I was so pleased that they didn't drag that.
I thought that was nice, actually.
Yeah,
I mean, Shirley was sat there with she swallowed a wasp, but when what's new, you know. But that moment where kind of Mick put his hand on Frankie's just as the statement was being read out, as if to say, "It's okay, I understand." That was really nice. I liked that.
I thought it was perfect. And as you said about Sheree, as you said about. As you said about Shirley, to be fair, she had a moody face all week. She was shouting at everyone and getting upset with anyone who didn't defend Mick in any form. So, you know, but Frankie sneezed a bit funny around her. I think that Shirley would have had a go at her about it. So, you know, it's fine. And like I say, it was great that they didn't make too much of a deal of it. Mick forgave her.
That was nice.
He understood. He knew that at the end of the day, she was still her mother. And perfect. Everything building up to it for me was really, really great. And the courtroom scenes for what we had, I did enjoy too. And I don't know how other people watching felt, but I thought the fades were quite nice. It kind of brought.
Did you?
Yeah, a lot of things happening at once in a very condensed way. I liked it, and I take by your tone that you didn't.
No, I didn't mind it. I expected you to be kicking off about that. Interesting, yes. Now, I have to say, I've seen a few court scenes on soaps recently. Not that I like to, bring up other soap storylines I'd offered on here, but the Jeff and Yasmin storyline in Corrie implemented a very similar sort of format to it. So you were sort of fading in between, lawyer statements and all of that sort of judge things and all of that sort of thing. And I guess what it does is it sort of speeds along the legality sort of side of things, that sort of stuff is always said at a court case, so I guess it kind of fast forwards through it. For me, personally, I like to see all that sort of thing just because it makes it all seem quite serious and also, oh my god, we're in court, this is the moment, I don't mind that they did the fade thing, it did work. But for me, I just, I get everything that happened in the court scenes, and I get why it happened. I do think that the court scenes themselves, as in Friday's episode, massively suffered from the shorter episode format.
Yeah.
Because for me, they didn't have time to... We said it ticked all the right boxes, but for me, the episode simply wasn't long enough to give the storyline the sort of pathos that it deserved for its climax.
Yeah. I mean, the Friday's episode was pretty much dominated by the courtroom scenes, with a few scenes smuttered in here and there.
Aside from Jean and her prune
yes,
of all things,
just to add a bit of a comedy element to the Friday day.
You know,
like you do.
Woman who might have cancer as prune juice problems. You know, fantastic.
I like to touch actually on the shorter episodes, and last week you mentioned something about the shorter episodes too, and I remember thinking, actually, I wish I'd talked to you about that. So I'm going a bit off, the Carter stories. Just briefly. Okay. Do you think it's time that perhaps they go back to the half-an-hour episodes now? Do you not?
Yeah, I'd love them to. Yeah. I'd love them to. I will say, for the most part, I don't notice it, I'll be honest. Like, even right from the start, I wasn't really noticed, because most of the time with EastEnders, I'm that engrossed in the episode that I don't really notice the length of it. So, you know. But it's moments like the court scenes where the thing is, my main issue with the court scenes, and like I say, everything they did was right, I got it. I would have preferred Mick to have actually had his time in the stand and be able to say that statement to Katy's face and have that moment between them.
Funnily enough, again though, that was one of the moments where, and because Mick's statement was said at the same time as him looking after Nancy, because Nancy had... Yeah,
I get all that, yeah, for sure.
Maybe I just was feeling a bit soppy last night when I was watching it, but I thought it worked really well. I thought the fact that there was a couple of lines from the statement which stood out for me when it was said, "My family saved me and showed me what love means." And as that was happening, you saw him helping Nancy up, helping her after her fit, helping her, embracing her, looking after her. And I just thought, that makes sense. Again, something clicked for me. Mick, this doesn't matter to him anymore. Yes, Katy deserves to get the justice she should get. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Mick's family, he's realised his family is what's important to him. And so going forward, I'm hoping that this also means that the whole Mick and Linda being pregnant with Max's baby would be a lot more easier story to go down, rather than a very angry story that could have developed between them. Sure.
I mean, my thought of it, I mean, you know me, I like to have those sorts of emotional sucker punches when I'm watching these sorts of scenes. For me, and I got that with Nancy's fit, because it was an incredibly bad fit that she was having. But for me, the thing is, whilst that scene was going on, and I'm not actually criticising the whole sort of fade over and all that kind of thing, I think it actually worked perfectly well. I'm not criticising that at all. What I would say is, though, because of the intensity of the fit that she was having, yes, I did get that I was watching going, oh my god, is she okay? What's going on? And for me, I wasn't listening to what the statement was saying. I was busy watching Nancy fitting on the floor. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I understand.
That was the only sort of, the crossover, for me, they were both supposed to be those sorts of emotional moments, and for me, gel together, it was a bit overwhelming because I was busy focusing on how intense Nancy's fit was as opposed to what was actually being said in the statement.
I suppose it did distract me a little bit now you come to mention it, because for a little bit I genuinely believed that they were going to kill Nancy without any publication at all. Can you imagine? I genuinely thought they were about to do that, and so that did distract me a little bit, I have to say. But when it was obvious that wasn't going to happen, then that was fine, it kind of rolled along with it. I mean...
Well, this is the thing that kind of confused me a bit, because it was clearly the worst fit that we've ever seen Nancy have, by a long stretch, because it looked like she was almost choking on her own vomit at one point. That's how bad it looked. But then she was walking about fine afterwards, so I was kind of wondering, I get that the point of it was to sort of show that Mick is this family man. It gave him the sort of, and I don't mean this cynically, it gave him the hero moment. And showed that nothing else matters. Mick and his daughter is the most important thing. It wouldn't have even occurred to him to leave Nancy there and go and give his statement, and quite rightly so. But it's sort of like, why was the fit so bad? And then he'd have been there even if she had just had a fit of any intensity level. Even if she was just if it didn't require her to need paramedics and all that sort of thing, he would have been there for her until she stopped fitting and kind of made her drink water and all that sort of thing, as he would normally do, as we saw him do last week.
Yeah, because he comforted Nancy then as well in Sharon's flat. Yeah.
So I did wonder sort of why it had to be that intense, and then for Nancy to be walking around absolutely fine afterwards. I'm wondering if the intensity of the fit was a sign that that side of the story is now going to develop, and we're going to talk more about Nancy's fitting and why it's gotten so bad from here on in. If that happens, then absolutely fine, no issues.
I hope so.
Yeah, so do I. But that was my only thought of it. Like I said, I did enjoy the court scenes, but for me, just the gelling of those two bits kind of distracting me from what was supposed to be going on in the court scene was the only thing I would say.
Yeah, fair enough. Like I say, I was a bit distracted, but not enough. I don't know. I was absorbed by it. I really was.
Yeah, so was I.
And nothing's really absorbed me like that for a little while on EastEnders. So it's nice that I had that. But no. That's not to be fair. That's not a criticism on the soap because I don't think they've done anything in the last couple of weeks to have me in that kind of zoned out form watching the screen.
Sure.
Watching them happen. So it was nice. And despite what other people have said, I do think it did deserve, because it was the Carter family. It wasn't just Mick. It was the Carter family that got that Julia's theme.
Oh yes. Now, what do you think of the Julia's theme inclusion?
I think it was, again, I think it deserved it. But that doesn't mean that I don't think that other stories that have happened in the last 2-3 years that hasn't received a Julia's theme did not deserve it. Because of course other stories have deserved it too.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of Carter family royalty now, isn't it? It's up there with sort of the Carters getting a duff when they were driving off into the sunset listening to the Spice Girls, It's that sort of... It's like only the Carters.
I get, or at least Mick tends to take over the show when it comes to storylines. I get that. And I would say also that Phil Mitchell does too. They always seem to shoehorn a story that Phil has to have some kind of involvement. I've moaned about that on numerous occasions, and it's not something I particularly like. I'd much rather that they distributed the stories a bit more evenly, but there will always be one family or one person who will potentially get more than anyone else. Even in the early days of the 80, in 85, 86, 87, it was always the Bills. The story was always about the Bills, and the every story around it was the Bills would be involved in one way or another. Even, Angie and Den, Michelle was involved with that story.
Whoever owns the Vic is the sort of the main character almost, isn't it? Aren't they?
But it was always the Bills who were the main family. And then when the Mitchells were introduced, it was the Mitchells, and the Mitchells have dominated it throughout the 90s. Yeah, you say since, but I reckon the Carters have done a damn good job, and especially
absolutely.
They're kind of building up the Carters a lot more again now with Frankie, with Nancy being reintroduced. I'm so pleased they've reintroduced Nancy. It works perfectly. I
think they're lucky with the Carters because the way that they came in, whole set of brand new characters, and I've seen that sort of thing happen before. I remember when Corrie brought in Michelle Collins to do her role in The Rovers.
Yes.
They brought in her and her family, and it just felt so incredibly forced. Like, you've got to like Stella. Here's another storyline for Stella. Here's another storyline for Stella. You've got to like Stella, and it just felt a little bit sort of overdone. Whereas with the Carters, I remember when they first came in, I was absolutely gripped by all of them. I wanted to know so much about each single character. The storylines were great for them. The writing was great for them. And that sort of thing hasn't really left them. I still am quite happy to have Carter storylines. I never feel sort of like I'm overdosing on Carter storylines. Like you say, it would be nice to sort of have it shared out a little bit more. They're a popular family. We talk about it and we overanalyze it and all of that sort of thing because that's what we do. For your simple viewer who watches it and then turns it off again and doesn't think about it till the next episode, the Carters are great. And I think long may they reign, because they're all great actors and they work in the Vic. They've sort of established themselves as a sort of brick in the Vic, So
a cornerstone.
That's the price I was looking for. Brick. You're such a brick.
Just another brick in the wall.
Drop 'em.
Oh no! How have we linked that? Do you know what else I suddenly thought of? You remember Anton de Beck's game show, or Dale Winton's game show? Bring on the wall, and you had to do that pose, hole in the wall. I loved that. I actually did love that.
That was great. Yeah,
maybe perhaps.
It was a great show. Bring that back. I'll try and do that for the game next week. How about
hole in the wall?
Yeah, I'll do that. Yeah, we'll pretend.
You need a lot of polystyrene in the swimming pool, so good luck.
Done.
Next up, then, is the final story of the week, and it's Bailey's return to the square with a rapturous applause from the whole market. Amy got caught out by Denise with her lame... I mean, Amy stole from the market stall, which Denise clearly saw.
What is going on
then
with Amy?
Followed Amy to the allotment, and then it was like, Amy, you are the worst. You are clearly not your father's daughter, because if that was Jack, Mr. Detective Jack, he would have known how to have done the undercover job.
I just love that moment where sort of she opens the shed door, it sort of swings open, Denise is just standing there with that brilliant expression that she has when she's annoyed about something, just glaring at her going, oh yeah, and sort of poked her head around the shed and found Bailey. I mean, we discussed this a couple of weeks ago, but what is going on with Amy Mitchell at the moment? I don't get it. She's an odd little pixie.
She is an odd little pixie. I don't know. This is the thing. I can't really describe it because I don't know what they're doing with her other than making her mother's daughter, but
I struggle with that analogy though.
So do I.
Roxy wasn't like this, you know what I mean? Yeah, you can see it with Lily and Stacey, for example. You know, they're just turning Lily into this gobby teen, and actually not far off from what Stacey was like when she first came into it. But similarities between Amy and Roxy aren't really that. There aren't that many of them. So, I mean, presumably that's what we're supposed to be thinking, and we're supposed to be remembering Roxy as sort of this. I mean, I know she was a coke addict, but you know, but you know what I mean. I suppose we're supposed to be thinking of Roxy and seeing these sorts of symptoms almost in Amy as she's turning into a mother. But I don't know. I don't get where they're going with Amy because there doesn't seem to be any logic to her behaviour.
No, it doesn't gel with me. I just don't get it. And maybe I'm alone on this one, but I just don't see why they're suddenly doing this to Amy, because there was never really any. Okay, I know I bring up that whole story when Amy recorded, was it Max kissing someone else, or I can't remember now, on the iPad, and you know she kept.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Do you remember that? And I know that had happened, but that was almost accidental. This was her hiding Bailey was very much deliberate. That Amy's logic was so flawed that she thought that in order to get her dad's attention was to basically hide the thing that was distracting him from her in the first place. So it doesn't make any sense.
What is it? Are we just looking at sort of like attention seek? I mean, how old is Amy now? Like she's nearly a teenager now, isn't she?
Early teenager if she is a teenager, or 12, something along those lines.
So are we just looking at like typical? I mean, is it supposed to be sort of just little girl trying to get attention sort of thing, and feeling like no one's paying any attention to her, so I'm going to be naughty?
Perhaps
is that what it is?
Perhaps it is, because she had that real bond with Mel, didn't she? When Mel and Jack had that relationship, and Mel.
Yeah, to be fair, it's not the first time we've seen Amy shoplifting.
No, exactly. Yeah, because she got her first bra with Mel, didn't she? And then Mel started giving her makeup tips, but then Mel just deceived her too. So maybe she's been a bit damaged from that too. Maybe she just wants a motherly figure. Maybe she just needs someone, but then Denise is there kind of giving it to her, but she's not reciprocating it. So what is it about Denise that Amy doesn't like? Is that something we're going to look at down the line? Is it something that maybe she just doesn't... Again, the wicked stepmother route. Is that what we're going to have with Denise and Amy? Are we just... Maybe,
but then Denise has got her own sort of kid storyline with... Well, supposed to have her own kid storyline going on with Raymond.
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, I guess we'll see, but it's all very odd at the moment. But yeah, Bailey's back. So, like you say, it's tumultuous applause from the square. That was odd.
I know, so strange.
we just turned around and the whole square, and these complete strangers. Community spirit, you know. Yeah, no, it was quite strange. But Bailey is back now, and seems to have no issues now with spending other people's money. I noticed. Isaac offered to buy her like a nice bun or something. She was like, no, yeah, I can do that. That's absolutely fine. Yeah, I'll let you buy me a bun. And so Bailey seems to have settled herself back in now. I mean, there's a few little things to pick apart here. Bernie being one of them.
Yeah.
Now, we spoke last week about the potential for a sort of eating disorder storyline with Bernie.
Yeah, and it seems to have followed on a little bit this week.
It does, doesn't it? Well, she said to Rainey that I'll be ready by the end of the month. The weight thing will be sorted by the end of the month. So that means that she's going to try and lose, I would imagine, a fair amount of weight in the space of a month, which, like we say, suggests that that's maybe where they're going with it. I welcome it. It's a great storyline point as long as they do it right.
It worries me with a story like that because I don't know. Again, it's like all things. If they don't do it right, it can be quite damaging to the people watching it, especially especially to people who are in that position themselves. I don't know if you've noticed, but EastEnders seem to be having a lot of issue-based stories.
It's a thing at the minute, yeah.
Really
yeah, I think I would argue that it's. I always get told off for saying this from some people, but it is a sort of not just an EastEnders thing that it's soaps at the minute, because the thing is, issue-based storylines they automatically provoke conversation, don't they? Which for the positive reasons means yes, people are talking about domestic violence, or people are talking about depression or eating disorders or something. On the slightly more cynical side of it, it means people are talking about EastEnders, or they're talking about Coronation Street, or something. Do you know what I mean? Like the name of the show is sort of in the public ether as it was. So I think it is sort of like a very sort of big thing at the moment to just kind of go through all these issues. Now, the problem is with issue-based storylines, they have more impact when they're slightly more isolated, as opposed to what we might be running into at the moment with the schizophrenia going on in that house. They've got an eating disorder going on across the road. You know, we've got rape going on over there. Ruby's Club. You know what I mean? Like, you've got lots of really intense storylines with issues going on in different parts of the square, which sort of waters them down in terms of their impact a little bit.
I miss a good old-fashioned affair, you know, like a good one, like a proper.
It's been a while, hasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I've you know, the Max and Linda story wasn't as much an affair as in a kind of just a hookup, really, more than anything, wasn't it? Kind of a mistake, you could call it. But while a good affair, when it's all deliberate and they're all hiding behind like the cafe, having a stolen kiss from one another.
When was our last big affair?
I genuinely can't remember when the last affair was. I mean, and soaps, like, that was their bread and butter. An affair. It was. Like, every soap would have an affair, and everyone would.
It's been a while.
You know, I would welcome an affair. Not with the Carters.
Never thought I'd hear that.
I know.
Not with the Carters.
I'll tell you when the last affair was. It was Shianu.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah,
and that was great.
We loved Shianu. Shianu was great. So, talking of the issue-based storylines, what this all sort of ran into as well was a scene with Isaac in Beale's in the restaurant. I mean, how would you describe what we got in that scene?
Well, he had too much to drink. Not to excuse the situation he got himself into, but he had a bit too much to drink while Bailey was loving, again, more free food for Bailey. She was
she's got over this sort of problem she had with spending other people's money, isn't she? I'm glad that's established in her head.
Yeah, chocolate milkshakes, burgers and chips.
I don't want to go back on the street. If this is what I have to do, then that's fine.
I'm not sharing my crackers with a dog anymore.
No,
this is all for me.
Screw that.
And he had Sheree joined him and Lola, and he started looking. Was he looking at like the table?
Manic, I think is the term, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, manically at the table, and he saw something that no one else could see, and he was laughing at it.
It was unsettling.
First of all, Isaac is acting very kind of like he's never been one for much expression in his conversation. But that's a good point. But he's gone very much more inside himself. So I noticed that immediately. And then he just had that kind of manic episode when he was staring. And obviously we heard the obligatory train going past to kind of add emphasis.
At least it wasn't a pipe. Yes. I was watching that thinking, I'm waiting for a pipe at any moment. I'll tell you what, that's how they do it though. That's how it's supposed to be done, those sorts of intense scenes. I was expecting pipes during the Mick in the court scenes as well. Didn't get any of it. Keep this going, EastEnders. This is what we like. Because it's always been like, that's how they do intense scenes. The trains sound louder. That's just the EastEnders way, you know? That's fine. You can make these trains sound as though they're going over my head. I don't care.
They notice, you're almost hearing inside their head that they're noticing the environment around them much more.
Exactly.
So a train going by being a bit louder than usual as Isaac's having that manic episode. Yeah.
Where does it go from here, though? Because Sheree's noticed. It's not like he's doing this on his own now. Because Sheree has noticed, and presumably because Sheree has been extremely sensitive to these little things in Isaac. I would imagine from here on in we're gonna. And Lola noticed as well. Yeah. Bailey didn't have a clue what was going on. Was just enjoying her burger. But
she was ordering more food.
So where do we go from here? I think presumably there's going to be a conversation between Sheree and Lola. Are they going to be checking his medication or something?
Well, Lola knows though that he's off his medication because he's told, but Sheree doesn't.
Oh yes, that's right. Well, in which case Sheree's going to find out about that then, isn't she?
Sheree's fears were correct, that she was worried that all it would take would be the love of a woman to destroy Isaac, you know. And
Lola. Lola's impact.
Blooming Lola's done it again.
Lola. Honestly. Classic Lola.
It is classic Lola.
Psychologically break men wherever she goes, left, right and centre.
It's all she knows. It's all she knows.
It's all she knows how to do. Look at Ben. Look what she did to him. You know, it's all mad.
There has to be a conversation between Lola and Sheree because, as you say, Sheree noticed it, and Sheree. I mean, it would annoy me a little bit if it goes on that Sheree still is a bit like, oh, that's a bit strange. Oh, that's a bit strange.
Isaac. You're right.
Yeah,
you're right.
That's a bit strange. You know, Sheree's lived it once already. She must notice it.
She knows the signs. Yeah. She must know the signs.
And
surely
she has to. She has to bring it up and I'm interested to know where it's gone. It's good that it's not been literally the next day it's happened. It has, for what EastEnders build-up is, it was quite good. You know,
I understand. Yeah.
Yep. You saw a few hints at it. You know, as Bailey went missing, and then you know, and it wasn't
subtle.
It was subtle.
What?
That word, Christ!
Subtle.
I haven't used that word in a while.
No.
I mean, what do you think is going to happen with this?
Do you know what? As long as they keep, they're not going to. I know they're not. I'm not going to get excited to think that I'm never going to hear a pipe again. But if they kept it at this sort of level with Isaac and the way that they're doing it, and sort of like slowly sort of layering his. I don't know if mania is the right word, so I apologise if that's not the right word. But sort of layering that into the story until we reach the inevitable climax that we're going to come to. I will have no complaints whatsoever. And apparently now, because I think I said a few weeks ago when we were talking about Isaac that I was worried that they didn't seem to have mentioned any sort of charities that they were talking to or anything, and they have now said that they're talking to mental health charities and Mind and all of this sort of thing about schizophrenia and saying about what these people go through, which I thought was actually instantly noticeable.
Yeah.
What we now have is the EastEnders that we would recognise as someone who is, as a programme that is doing the research, speaking to the charities and all of that sort of thing, and we will then see the product of that, which I'm looking forward to.
Hopefully, fingers crossed.
Yes.
I think that's everything, Rob. That's all the
There you
stories
go.
again.
Good week, EastEnders. Good week.
More of that, please. Put it on a plate, and Isaac's paying for it. We've got some comments now to read out from you guys that you sent to us on our social media.
Who else? Who else was sending you comments?
We can read each other's comments to each other.
That's not appropriate for.
So we're going to read out some of your comments on this week's I Ain't One to Gossip.
You know me, I ain't one to gossip.
We will be starting this week with a comment on our YouTube channel, which...
Oh, good.
From last week's episode. From Nicola Lake, she wrote, Nancy doesn't have any control over her seizures. She was able to prepare because a lot of epileptics often get an aura. It's like a warning sign that you're about to have a fit. I had epilepsy as a child, and my auras gave me an intense feeling of deja vu. Now, I didn't know that because last week we said that she was able to kind of sense when she was getting an epilepsy.
That's what I meant, yeah. That's sort of what I meant. I understand what she means by the aura thing. I think that's sort of what I was trying to say, but it was what I meant was it was good that she at least had that moment where she could sense that it was coming so that she could sort of prepare the environment around her ready for it.
Yeah, it's weird actually because I never knew this, and it makes me feel a bit thick for not knowing this in a way, but I get migraines and I get an aura before I'm about to get a migraine. Yeah, I get a real bad aura in either eye, either my left or my right eye, and it lasts for about 30 minutes, and then almost instantaneously after it disappears, I then get a real bad migraine. So I found it really interesting that there was a link almost between the two. Don't worry, I didn't then panic and went on WebMD and then started going, do I have a
migraine? I thought the whole pain behind the eye thing was just part of the migraine. I thought that was like one of the first part of it.
No, I don't get a pain behind the eye. It starts,
just a feeling behind your eye.
I see auras in my sight, and
you see auras.
I see this kind of it's like they've blurred the image in my eye, and it's normally a kind of circular.
Oh, okay.
It's kind of circular, so it's at the top of my vision or the bottom of my vision.
Oh, okay.
And then it kind of fades into it, and then it almost then disappears much quicker. And then as soon as that's happened, I then have a migraine. If it's not a visual, I do get visual migraines too, but they don't tend to start with an aura. They just tend to come on. But anyways, enough about my medical history. Let's hear more comments from people.
Kieran Smith says of Terry, I think he's not who he says he is. Most likely a con man, possibly in cahoots with Dotty. The only downfall with that is, though, Jack appeared to recognise who he was in the pub, so I don't know. I mean, I imagine that he has got some sort of secret and past and all of that sort of thing. But I don't know I don't know about being in cahoots with Dotty. That would be an interesting little twist.
Although if he is, I never thought of it that way. That would be interesting. No. I'd say a good twist. I actually thought the same way, and it's something I was meant to talk about when we were talking about the story. I thought perhaps he might have been not who he says he was. And saying that about Jack noticing, Jack didn't notice him. It was after Terry introduced himself that Jack was like, oh yeah, I remember you. Quite casually between them. And it kind of would then explain how they were going to write themselves out of the situation of Terry's past, maybe, because then it's not Terry. If it's not actually Terry, first of all, then I would call him Rocky because it's not Terry Cant. But second of all, he
Terry can.
Terry bloomin' could. But also, then it's a fresh sheet, isn't it? It's a new story then for a new character. But then again, it then loses the reason for why he's been introduced, and that is to almost give Sonia something to be on the screen for. So, I mean, I don't dislike the idea of Terry being a con man.
I was going to say, that seems to invite shenanigans, though, doesn't it?
It does. We're not having a shenanigan over.
He doesn't look like a shenanigans type of bloke.
No,
to be fair.
he's just a bit. He's a dodgy geezer. He's a kind of moon type character, which leads me nicely to an interesting fact. Did you know that Brian Connolly had auditioned for the part that David Essex had as Alfie Moon's father, or the?
Well, that's a strange sort of circular way of going about it, isn't it? Either way, his character would have been snogging Carol at some point. That's mad.
There you go. See.
There you go. Anything else?
Nah, that's about it.
You can contact us on Twitter, Instagram at Walford Weekly. You can find us on Facebook at Walford Weekly Podcast. On YouTube, don't forget to like, subscribe and click the bell to get notifications about the spoiler videos. And you can listen to us on Apple, Podbean, Spotify or any of your favourite podcast sites. I also have an email address. You can email me at robwalfordweekly@gmail.com or message the other guy at alexwalfordweekly@gmail.com. We'll be back next week, same time, same place. Until then, we both bid you goodbye.